the official greeting, Tuesday tea time. Nice to have us here together, welcoming all beings, people of every age and ethnicity and cultural heritage and religious background and socioeconomic group and abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity. We study together and we practice for the benefit of all beings and for this living earth, aspiring to do no harm and to acknowledge that our liberation is interconnected with the liberation of all. So we take this time to be with ourselves, be with each other in community, acknowledging the Buddha's teachings and the ability to actually be awakened in this lifetime because of the Buddha's teachings. And we have the Sangha of our own Tuesday group, and we have all of those who have gone before us, lay people, monks, nuns, thousands of generations, 2,600 years. So it is really with gratitude and joy that I ring my bell for us to have this time to see what's happening in our hearts and minds. As we gently let the eyes close, or you can leave them open, let them looking down a little bit, letting light in, but not really identifying with shapes and figures, but just allowing light to flow in. Sometimes that helps us stay more alert at first. Sometimes it just naturally happens. We let our eyes close. We begin having a little less stimulus from the outside world. But we are here and we create scenarios due to our senses, the perceptions that arise. So we can let hearing arrive to the ears, just noticing sound coming to the ear door. As we find a comfortable, upright position that lets us begin to help bring the heart, the mind, the body together in one place. We may notice smell without grasping at what we notice the smell to be. There may be smell that arrives at the nostrils. If the eyes are open, there may be seeing. If the eyes are closed, there's also sometimes inner seeing. Which is also actually a product of the thought door. Thoughts arising and passing. And we have the door of tasting. You may notice taste in the mouth at different times. And we have touching. There may be pressure at the buttocks where it meets the cushion. Or the pressure of hands touching each other, or where the arms might be resting. We ground ourselves in this body, these aggregates that come together. And we notice gravity perhaps at our feet, touching the floor. We may notice pressure, tingling, warmth, or coolness at any of these touch points. We may notice energetically what's happening in the body as we notice the breath, allow ourselves to relax in place. There might be some kerfluffling, as Kamala used to say, of the mind and the heart as we settle. Activities that occurred before we got here, or the residue of what happens in the mind from previous experiences, immediate or further back. We notice that thinking might be present of past encounters. And sometimes we feel that. We can notice in the body, at the throat or the heart or the diaphragm, the solar plexus. We can notice the nervous system flowing through the body. We're just present with what is being shown, with what is being known. And we are asking mindfulness to be at the forefront, to help us see clearly with a neutral eye whatever comes into our view. If we choose to focus on a single object, at first to help develop some concentration, we can notice the rising and the falling of the breath at the diaphragm, pressure and release of pressure. Or maybe we notice it more easily at the nostrils, where it might be cool or warm. There might be a long breath or a short breath. It could be rough or smooth. We just have present moment experience of what is happening. And by letting that attention be on a single object, it brings the wandering mind over and over again back to a single resting point. Sometimes people use mantras. Sometimes they use something to look at, like a mandala or a candle flame. Sometimes they might use a mala, chain of beads, to repeat a mantra. Whatever it is, we choose to return to the present moment. As soon as we notice the mind is wandering, I was reminded of it today when I was doing my regular puppy training with Raja, the dear sweet furry thing you hear barking. He's very alert and active when it comes to treats and food and his toys. And I keep training him to come back, sit, and put out his paw to shake my hand when I give him his treat after he's brought back a toy. And today I really saw it very clearly as the reason that we choose a single object at first. That if we keep training ourselves to come back to a single point, it gets reinforced in the mind to not wander off into the past or project forward into the future. It allows us to be present. And we can hold ourselves in a feeling of kindness and compassion as various thought forms often intrude and we go through conversations in our mind, and then we might try to find ways of correcting what we were doing or planning something. And then we just say, yes, thinking is occurring. And with gentleness, the way I praise Raja for coming back with his toy, with gentleness, we bring ourselves back to this anchor. It could be the touch point of the buttocks on the seat, or that breath where you feel it. It helps keep us alert and in the present moment. And we can notice how quickly we want something to be different. And whatever arises is object for insight. It's object for contemplating. My nose is cold. I want to change the temperature in the room. I notice desire. I notice craving something, grasping at something. And then I can quickly say, oh yes, right here in the present moment, coolness on the nostrils, coolness against the face. Looking slightly deeper is craving, grasping, clinging, causing discomfort in my heart and mind. And the remembrance of letting go, or seeing it go on its own, but bringing mindfulness to the present moment of wherever our attention is, can give us endless moments of continuity of mindfulness. And within that noticing and waking up moment to what's happening is joy in the heart, a feeling of upliftment, because we're waking up in this moment being mindful over and over and over again. Sometimes we're not so mindful, but we wake up from it again. Come back to that point of the breath at the nostrils or at the belly, or the buttocks on the cushion or the hands where they touch. And we just gently begin again, holding ourselves in kindness, letting go of greed, hatred, delusion when we are aware of it, seeing it let go on its own. Inclining toward this awareness, toward this wisdom of seeing the changing nature, anicca, of everything that, due to conditions, arise for us to be aware of. We can remember from time to time to notice what the attitude of the mind is. What's happening in the heart and mind right now? What is the attitude? Can we be curious? What's happening right now? Can we see with clear eyes without basing what we are attending to on past experience, but see it purely, clearly? Without engaging in a lot of intellectual conversation with ourselves. We're just purely knowing what is arising. We may have our attention open to more than just the single breath. We may have our attention available to noticing the breath throughout the body. We can have this broader, open awareness, letting mindfulness be at the fore, clearly seeing whatever occurs with those three characteristics of anicca, anatta, dukkha. We see that what arises changes. We see that we can't hang on to what we think is pleasant, and we can't push away what we think is unpleasant. We can't grasp onto it. It's non-personal. And if we try, we create discomfort. We have dukkha, this constant dissatisfaction that is really part of our nature of being born in this lifetime and samsara into the world. But we still have that kindness we hold ourselves in, and we still have that joy that awakens when we really can see clearly these characteristics. We can begin to easily turn away from what might keep repeating itself as not very skillful, and we can incline the heart and mind toward right energy, right mindfulness. Loving kindness, compassion, skillful ways of inclining our hearts and minds. And if the mind is busy or the body is restless, we can begin again by going back to that single object. So whether it's a single object or open awareness to whatever is within our consciousness, we're returning to the present moment. Whatever comes up in the mind can be the object of our awareness, the object of our mindfulness. What's important is noticing our attitude of what's arising. Do we have fixed views and opinions? Are we attached to what it is? Are we labeling it? Or is it just thoughts arising and passing? Or perhaps it's a pain in the knee that's arising and passing. Or difficulty in a posture. We can notice if we investigate it sometimes that even if it's pain somewhere in the body, if we're present with it, we may notice that it changes. It's not fixed. It moves and changes. Sometimes it might go to a different place in the body. We don't stay there for long if it's intense pain that creates constriction in the mind. We can go back to the breath, or we can go further away from that pain to something, some other part of the body, like the toe, or something that is not in pain. So we can both investigate what comes into our field of view, and we can also back off from it and just touch upon it gently and widen our experience, all the while being mindful, having awareness there, and the wisdom to know, to see clearly when to let go and when to stay present and investigate. And this gets developed over time, which is why we can always return to the breath or the touch point or to what comes to us in our senses as a place to begin again. And we can always hold ourselves in kindness. breath by breath, moment by moment, beginning again, renewing interest, holding ourselves in kindness. This is a repeated process over and over and over again. Whether we're sitting formally, whether we're walking or standing or beginning a movement, laying down, we always have an opportunity to be present in this moment, to hold ourselves kindly, to realize the importance of goodwill for ourselves, goodwill for others. This immeasurable, unconditional ability that we nurture for not causing harm, non-ill will, having compassion and kindness. We can have it for ourselves, holding ourselves gently, noticing when we beat ourselves up about something. Just reminding ourselves, may I be at ease. Holding this kindness and goodwill in our hearts. Including others. A close friend, a benefactor. May you be at ease. We might hold this person in our heart, in our mind's eye, being healthy and happy. We can include others in our group that aren't here today. Sherry and Margaret and Joan. James, we haven't seen for a while. Others that have come and gone briefly. Some are more neutral to us than others. Just allowing this sense of friendship, friends within our heart, that they may have ease. May they be free from suffering. And when things are challenging, may they have compassion for themselves, just as we have compassion for them. May we be with their suffering and have equanimity as our base. And joy in our hearts. May we include in this circle of well-being neutral people, someone we don't know, someone who may be in suffering. It could be a single person, or maybe it's the group of families from the recent shooting at the school with the 9-year-olds and the 3 adults and the person who was the shooter. All of these people are having a lot of suffering right now. May we hold them in our hearts. that there be freedom from ill will. May we have compassion for those that we don't know, without opinions about it, but just may we hold in our hearts the understanding of suffering. Just as I wish to be happy, I know that all beings wish to be happy. May we hold this sense of kindness and compassion, understanding another person's pain. And may we draw upon equanimity to keep us from falling into extremes. May there be an upliftment in the heart, a kind of joy to hold all of this because of our understanding of the practice, knowing, seeing directly that there is nothing to cling to. There's nothing to hold on to. All beings suffer. May we hold in our kindness all beings, those that swim and fly and crawl and walk, those seen and unseen beings, those known and unknown, beings that are in suffering, beings that are in joy. May all beings everywhere have happiness, and the causes of happiness be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease and well-being. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakitoa meruchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things arise and pass away. They are due to impermanence. We see this clearly, and it brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. And may we really know that this practice can be of great benefit to us and to all beings. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for your practice. It is good.